Next up, we have Ambassador Shola Omoregie, speaking on behalf of ethno-religious conflict within the political system.
I would like to congratulate the International Center for Ethno-Religious Mediation for organizing the first annual international conference and for inviting me to deliver a paper on ethno-religious conflicts within the political system, the arrangements across ethnic and party lines. As the title of the paper shows, ethno-religious conflicts involve groups with different religions and ethnic background. Either religion and ethnicity could trigger ethno-religious conflicts, or when combined, the ensuing conflict could be very deadly. It is encouraging that organizations such as ASEM are engaged in mediation and peace-building work to help resolve conflicts. ASEM deserves our support for its noble work. Religious divide has been with us for centuries. If I may borrow from the language of Professor Luzan, religious divide is normal. We cannot avoid it. We can only control it. I would like to draw your attention to the Middle East and Africa, where ethno-religious conflicts have been very common, particularly in societies which are multi-religious and multi-ethnic in their composition. As recently stated in a report entitled The Sunni-Shia Divide, published by the Council on Foreign Relations, I quote, "An ancient religious divide is helping fuel a resurgence of conflicts in the Middle East and Muslim world countries. Struggles between Sunni and Shia forces have fed a Syrian civil war that threatens to transform the map of the Middle East. This is compounded by sectarian clashes, which has also sparked a revival of transnational jihad networks that poses a threat beyond the region. Across the Middle East, there are organized sectarian militants. In Iraq, there is Shia and Sunni divide. In Syria, there is Alawi, a Shia sect, versus Sunni, where the forces arrayed against Bashar Assad regime are Sunnis, e.g., ISIS, Islamic State, and others. Assad's outside support from Iran and Hezbollah are Shia, while the majority population in Syria is Sunni. The opposite of the Syrian situation is Bahrain, where the minority ruling regime is Sunni as against the majority Shia opposition. Again, here, Iran supports the Shia. So when one looks at the conflicts in some of the Middle East countries, one can see easily the interplay of geostrategic political proxy wars by Sunni and Shia powers, Saudi Arabia and Iran, respectively. The new ideology of Islamism, which is fueling these conflicts, is also fed in other parts of the world, particularly in Africa, where I come from. In this presentation, I intend to use Nigeria as a case study of ethno-religious conflicts within the political system. Why Nigeria? Nigeria, a multi-ethnic religious society, has over 400 ethnic groups, 3 main religions, Christian, Muslim, and traditional religions, with several denominations and periodic bouts of political instability. The country has witnessed both intra-religious and inter-religious conflicts among rival religious and ethnic groups with political and economic implications. Since the end of colonial rule in Nigeria, religion on its own has not led to crisis. Rather, it has been the politicians within the political system in power struggles who have been using religion and ethnic factors to their own advantage to instigate politically motivated conflicts. In his book, The Killing Fields, Religious Violence in Northern Nigeria by Shehu Sani, he states that there are a plurality of causes of ethnic, religious, political, and social conflicts, such as indigenous settler syndrome. That may not be very clear here. What I mean by indigenous settler syndrome, people who come from a particular area of the country, or what you would call natives. The unemployment and poverty, marginalization, process of the creation of foci of power allocation, rise of ethnic militias, boundary and land disputes, and conflict over value. One might also add neglect, oppression, domination, exploitation, victimization, nepotism, and bigotry as causes of ethno-religious conflicts in Nigeria. This paper aims to explain the political arrangements across ethnic and party lines, variations in the incidence of multi-ethnic parties and coalitions, and the fluidity that affects the propensity of party systems to deepen divisions and their capacity to develop mechanisms of ethnic conciliation. In the 1946 Richard Constitution, I say Richard Constitution because the governor then was called Richard, so the Constitution was devised during his period, so we commonly refer to it as 1946 Richard Constitution. Nigeria, for administrative purposes, was divided into 3 regions along the 3 major ethnic groups, Igbo, Hausa Fulani, and Yoruba. In Nigeria, various political parties have been established along ethnic lines. In order to gain wider national acceptance and accord with constitutional requirements, these parties are broadened to include minorities and influential personalities from other ethnic groups. But the core base of the parties retains their original ethnic identification. The average Nigerian was more accommodating until politics was mixed with ethnicity and religion. As colonial rule ended in Nigeria, 3 main political parties, the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, referred to as the NCNC, which emerged from the Igbo Union. We also have the Action Group, AG, which emerged from the Yoruba Cultural Association, Egbo Omoregie, and then the Northern People's Congress, MPC, which emerged from the Jamiya Arewa, were formed as the 3 main political parties in the country, but all ethnically based. And this was the beginning of the problem in the country. The NCNC was identified with the Igbo group. The NCNC power base was in eastern Nigeria, dominated by the Igbos. Similarly, the Action Group was identified with the Yoruba ethnic group in western Nigeria, where the party maintained its power base. The MPC was also identified mainly with the Hausa Fulani ethnic group in northern Nigeria, where again the party maintained its power base. These 3 regional based parties competed for power at the national level using their different ethnic bases. Not to be left out, the minorities in each of the 3 regions formed their own political parties. These parties tried to provide trans-ethnic linkages, but were too small to make any difference. The 3 main parties dominated the political scene as they thrive on tribal connections. And as the struggle for power gained momentum, ethnic, religious, and regional divisions led to conflicts, which resulted in huge deaths across the country. The Civil War of 1966 is a good example. The Civil War was portrayed in some sections of the country as a war between the Hausa Fulani of the northern region and the Igbos of the eastern region. The 2 other regions, the Midwest and the West, initially hesitated in getting involved in the war as they saw the war as between the 2 different ethnic groups from the Muslim north and the Christian east. Ethnic and religious tensions, among others, resulted in the Civil War, which lasted for 3 years. When the Civil War ended in January 1970, the then head of state of Nigeria, General Yakubu Gowon, declared, I quote, "No victor, no vanquished," unquote, and instituted a program of reconciliation, rehabilitation, and reconstruction that helped in the healing of the wounds of war. The scars of the war remained, and the Igbos felt further marginalized. The Sharia riots and Boko Haram menace in northern Nigeria have reopened the old wounds of the Civil War. Fortunately, the current government in Nigeria is determined that Nigeria will not go back to the dark days of the Civil War. The politicians have continuously manipulated religion and ethnicity to cause ethno-religious conflicts in the country. There are always leaders who will do anything, including using ethnicity and religion to get and keep power. The politicians have become very adept at this. They use media as a means of manipulation. When there were conflicts in Rwanda and Côte d'Ivoire to divert, the political parties used radios to spread their messages of hate, thus worsening the situation. The same thing is happening in Nigeria too. If you listen to some of the radio stations, you'll be surprised what they say. But I will come to this later in my presentation. When Sharia was reintroduced in Nigeria in the year 2000, religion did not only become a critical tool in Nigerian politics, it was the height of the politicization of religion. In Kaduna, one of the states in northern Nigeria, riots broke out between Christians, mainly of Igbo ethnic group, and Muslims, mostly of the Hausa Fulani group. When the governor of Kaduna State, where Christians and Muslims are almost at par, almost evenly divided, introduced Sharia in February 2000. The introduction of Sharia in some northern states between 2000 and 2002 reignited the deep-seated animosities between ethnic and religious groups, which resulted in thousands killed, the destruction of churches, mosques, and property. Many believed that the introduction of Sharia was politically motivated, but the conflicts quickly assumed deadly religious and ethnic undertones. While the riots were mostly in northern Nigeria, the introduction of Sharia instilled fear of Muslim domination among Southerners, the South being mainly Christian. Since then, ethno-religious animosities, which have been simmering underneath, took an exponential proportion all over the country. When the conflicts broke out, when conflicts break out, there are political, economic, and geostrategic factors fueling tensions underneath. At international levels, at organizations such as the United Nations, efforts are made to resolve the ensuing conflicts by using dialogues and countermeasures. While some successes have been recorded, it is no secret that sectarian and religious conflicts are extremely difficult to resolve. A clear example is the Central African Republic, where a deadly sectarian conflict has been escalating since September 2013. The Christian anti-Balaka militias have killed hundreds of predominantly Muslim ex-Seleka forces. The ex-Seleka forces started by killing Christians, and in return, the anti-Balaka militias have turned against the ex-Seleka forces. Unfortunately, there is no end in sight to the killings, even with the intervention of the United Nations and the European Union. We have a similar situation in Mali, where Islamists have turned against the rest of the country. In both cases, the international community is mediating in the conflicts, but the results are very limited. Now, talking about the Sharia debate in Nigeria, Nigeria has always been administered as a secular state. But in 1978, as the military prepared to hand over the administration of the country to civilians, Sharia, a system based on Islam, was introduced in the constitution. Because of agitation, a compromise was eventually agreed and inserted in the 1979 Constitution, which ushered in the Second Republic in the country. But the gin was already out of the bottle, and ever since, religious intolerance and tension have resulted in serious conflicts between Christians and Muslims. Religion was now politicized. Before the introduction of the Sharia into the Constitution, some parts of the northern, in the northern part of the country, there was already Sharia, but this was mainly on family issues. But as the military were leaving office, those who were in favor of imposing Sharia on the rest of the country actually wanted to broaden it to affect almost everything. This was what caused the conflict. From 1980 to 1985, the Matiseni movement unleashed ferocious conflicts in the northern part of Nigeria. Although defeated by the government, the effects reverberate today in the emergence of Boko Haram, which has assumed a new dimension interreligious and intra-religious conflicts with deadly consequences. This is a group whose membership is made of followers from Chad, Cameroon, Niger, and Nigeria, and with connections with several other African countries. It's not just based in Nigeria alone. If it were only based in Nigeria, it would have been easy to defeat Boko Haram, but it has membership from our neighboring countries. This is why it has really been very difficult for the government to get a handle on it. It not only hates Christians and Westerners, it wants Sharia law imposed on the whole country. Now, unemployment, poverty, corruption, ethnicity, illiteracy, and religious ignorance have contributed to Boko Haram's ability to recruit new members and gain support locally in the areas of its operations. Why the government has returned force with force in terms of dealing with Boko Haram, it is also open to dialogue and addressing issues, some of the issues enumerated above, like unemployment and poverty, which have sustained Boko Haram insurgency. Because of all these issues, Boko Haram has found it very easy to gain new recruits. Although Boko Haram is against Western education, but you'll be surprised to find out that within the movement, you have several of the leaders holding their PhDs, masters, some are doctors, some are engineers, and in all fields. But at the same time, they continue to preach against Western education just to suit their own purpose, which shows that these are not really very religious people, but are just using the Boko Haram as a front. Why the government has returned force with force, it is open to dialogue and addressing some of the issues. Recently, it has also adopted a new soft approach of partnering with faith-based and community organizations to help with its counter-radicalization programs. In my opinion, this is a critical component of the program, since Boko Haram uses religion as a cover for its criminal activities. What is the solution to ethno-religious conflicts in Nigeria? I believe that an inclusive democratic party system for inter-ethnic reconciliation and harmony in a holistic setting is the right approach. While mediation is encouraged in order to avert ethno-religious conflicts, it is critically important that governments make serious attempts at monitoring and regulating religious activities. This might be wrongly interpreted as interference in religion, but in situations where religious groups operate without governmental regulations, conflicts are bound to follow. Good governance and putting in place preventive measures could also avert ethno-religious conflicts or make them more manageable. In my role as the representative of the United Nations Secretary General in Guinea-Bissau from 2006 to 2008, I interacted closely with the civil society and in particular religious leaders to avert or bring conflicts under control when they occur in the country. I met regularly with them to seek their views on the prevailing situation in the country. By not waiting for conflicts to break out before meeting with them, I was able to gain a better understanding of the delicate ethnic and religious divides in the country and to engage in peaceful dialogue with the stakeholders. In fact, in my regular meetings with the stakeholders, my regular meeting with stakeholders served as a sort of early warning mechanism, which I found very useful in the discharge of my duties. Once again, I would like to congratulate ISM for organizing this conference and its role in finding solutions to ethno-religious conflicts. I thank you for your attention.